talking about the project adventure, that you couldn't support it because you believe this should be inherently part of
Yes.
the curriculum. And so, you know, is that more of a program, a curriculum versus going to Mexico or going on whitewater rafting and all that? So there's, not all field trips are created equal, so,
Right.
you know, we may want to just put something in it that says broadly, educational programs, which may include field trips.
I guess that's my problem, because you have the trip to Spain or to France where maybe 10 kids go, 15 kids, and it's, I don't know, $2,000-3,000. So are we gonna pay for that?
No,
No.
no, I think.
Well then, but that's a
what
field
Karen's
trip,
saying.
right? What about the exchange with
I don't know if
Mexico?
I'd call that a field trip.
What about the exchange with Mexico?
I wish we'd eliminated it last year.
Yeah, but that's a field trip, isn't it?
Um,
I mean, that's a school-sponsored.
Well, that's why Karen said if we reword it,
Educational program.
because you're right, the trip to Spain is only for Spanish 4 and 5 students at high school level. But your 6th grade adventure, every kid's a 6th grader.
So where would Washington fit in? That wouldn't be in there then, right?
The whole class goes.
See,
It's
that's
across the
that's like
board.
$150,000. Again, I just, if any mention is made of field trips, I won't support this as a budget.
Does it have educational value?
Absolutely.
So if we call it an educational program, would you support it?
No.
No?
I'll just support sports and activities, extracurricular activities.
So I think, Cliff, that you can work that into number 5, instead of review current fee structure, change it to eliminate current fee structure. And then add, you've got athletic, bus, facility, student activity, kindergarten.
I generally like to set goals that we might have a chance of meeting, but I think it is a
Reduce.
noble, suggestion.
Right.
I think it just
We
makes a statement.
continually see these other districts that they start asking about charging a fee for something that's for us is a done deal. It's the all-day kindergarten thing and preschool, and that's part of their regular budget.
Mostly in the case, though, Cliff, of communities that have a different tax base than we do.
Yes.
If you look at the communities like Burlington and Woburn, places that have a 40 or 45% commercial industrial tax base, those are the communities that can afford to not have all of these fees. Whereas a community like us with a 16 or 17% commercial industrial base, we can't. And even if we had a tax classification, it's just not going to help us very much.
And I appreciate that, and I also appreciate the fact that we have a very large number of kids in our schools as
Right.
compared with the number of people we have
Pointed
in
that
our
out before, and
community.
that's
I've
a
made
very
that
good
statement
observation.
before.
Yeah.
And that ratio is abusive for us.
It is.
It's awful.
Yep.
But we're at 4 times what some communities.
And it might be the root of our problem, really.
I believe it is. I believe it is. If we had half as many kids, would we have as much of a problem? Oh, you certainly would not. We'd be looking at a budget of $12 million instead of 24. That's a lot of difference. You think about that as a part of the town budget. It would be monumental. And there are a lot of communities that are in that situation.
I think unfortunately more communities are following our lead, so to speak, with fees
Right.
than reducing it. But I would go along with that as a goal. I mean, I think it's a good goal to have, and I think if we had a foundation, it might be an area that the foundation would target, as
Right.
Maureen suggested. If that's a goal,
In aggregate, all of the trips and all of the activities are relatively small money as compared with our total budget. And I'm not saying that lightly, and I'm not being frivolous with the town's money in that. I'm saying that relatively, we're dealing with small money versus a very large budget. And that's a part of the education, and we should be sponsoring that as a town.
I would be willing to bet that there is not a school that pays for their 8th grade to go to Washington. I'd be willing to bet that. And I think if we set that as a goal, as a precedent, I think what we're going to end up doing is eliminating those trips. And to me, that'd be a shame to eliminate those trips, but I think that's what will happen. I support eliminating fees on sports and activities, but I just don't think field trips belongs in that same category.
well, maybe, Mel, we could classify it by saying eliminate fees or reduce fees for all activities that are regular activities or recurring activities like busing, like athletics, things like that, that aren't one-time.
I'm fine with that, but I think Cliff wants to have the field trips
Yeah,
in there,
I'm
so.
fine with calling it educational programs. We still have to approve them, and whether they're funded or not through the school budget, we still have to approve them. And I think it just sends a message that we're moving towards the free public education, with the help of a foundation.
For all of the children in the town.
So we'll let you make that motion, but I do have one other point that I think I want to be clear on, and it's under number one. It says enhance and expand program offerings for students. I would like a very specific goal of expanding PE offerings to juniors and seniors at our high school.
We're in non-compliance on that, and it's something that Pam Baldwin has been dealing with. As you know, we had this state mandated coordinated program review, and we're not in compliance in the 11th grade. We're still arguing back and forth with the Department of Ed about how we are going to be in compliance, and right now we're not in compliance, so I would
Okay.
support that.
I'd like to, okay, and that will be rolled into hopefully the budget that Carl's
Well,
preparing
that's what
for
we're
us.
at. So how do you want to modify?
Would you like to?
No, I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure that
Would you
everyone.
like to include that within my motion?
No, I think that as long as the administration is aware of it, and that's a pretty broad statement, I'm okay with leaving it like that. So, you've got the only change, so why don't you make the motion and see where it goes? Well, you can do it, I think, under number 5,
Yeah.
instead of review the current fee structure,
Yeah,
you'd like to see.
and change that to eliminate the current fee structure for.
And are you gonna add educational
that,
programs?
and to cover, all educational programs.
Do we have a second?
So facility is in there too. So that's
Yeah,
facility
but-
use, so you,
I guess I would argue that bus and facility, I think we should charge for. It's a service we're providing to people after the 6th grade that we don't have to provide. And also to those up to the 6th grade who live within 2 miles of the school, right? Can students through K through 6 take the bus if they live within 2 miles, if they pay the $250?
Yes.
If they pay.
So I don't think we should eliminate that fee. I think that that should be a self-sustaining
Bus and
service.
facility pulled out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll amend that to that.
Okay, so it will read, eliminate current fee structure for athletic, student activity, kindergarten, and all-day program.
All-day program or
Oh, I'm
education?
sorry, all education program.
That I can support.
And this is a goal. This is
Right.
a goal.
It's
We're
just
not
a
doing
goal.
this, this is a goal. So it's clear.
Education programs I can support.
And I
So-
think it's time we start considering
athletics,
free
student
kindergarten,
activities,
Kindergarten and,
all educational programs.
and instead of fee structure, we should say eliminate fees
and tuitions.
and tuitions.
All right.
How about the preschool? Is that different? Because we're not required to
Right.
Yes.
Right.
offer that,
That's
right?
different.
And you're not required to do the full.
Full day at
kindergarten.
kindergarten
Right.
either.
Okay, so does it read review, I'm sorry, eliminate
Fees.
current fees or reducing current, or not?
Just so you eliminate fees.
Alright, eliminate fees and tuitions for athletics, student activities, kindergarten, and all educational programs?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I will second that motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Awesome.
Teamwork, people.
There you go,
Teamwork.
Cliff.
Good goal.
Alright,
So where are we now?
Just one question on the budget, and this wouldn't be in a goal, but I think we need to have a goal of some sort of plan to put an emergency plan in case we do see local aid cuts. I think we're gonna know by the end of October if that's gonna happen. And I don't know if we can start looking through the budget, and I know there's no place to cut, so you know, wherever it's gonna hurt us the least, I guess, but I'd like to see some sort of, I'm not talking about a full-blown, 50 bullet point plan, but just some suggestions as to where we might cut if we have to.
And we can't cut any more days, because we went
Right.
down to the minimum. That's it.
And depending on when we find out about those cuts,
Right.
it may be that there isn't any way.
Right.
already been through this business of letting teachers go, and that comes back to us and hits us with the unemployment.
Especially since it's
Yeah, I mean, just to jump in on this, this will be a huge issue, but I would think that there'll be tremendous pressure to spend out 100% of the ARRA stabilization money this year to pay that, to close that gap.
Right.
Similar in a way that what happened last spring.
So
Right.
leave us completely high and dry next year when it comes to.
And that's, if the grant can be written in such a way to
Oh,
cover.
It can be.
It will be.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna write it, we have to write it to access
All the
all
funds.
that money anyway.
Right.
We're hoping to delay spending it, and the grant tells us that we can delay spending it until, what's the deadline? 2000.
September 2011.
Right. So, that was the plan, it was to delay hopefully 50%, but it'll be now more like 35%, 40% into the next fiscal year. But if there are cuts, I would imagine that there'll be pressure both state and locally
Right.
to finish that up.
Yeah.
So, when you're working on, the budget for next year, you're gonna build it on this year's budget, we know we won't have those funds available.
Yeah, I suspect that we generally have some kind of budget workshop that provides the reference point for where to get started. Well, now's not probably the time to get into an extensive discussion about it, but what an interesting point I would make is that in the last several years, we've taken the previous year as a launching point and called that level services.
Right.
So, as we approach FY11, do we want to use FY10 as our baseline? Because that's kind of horrifying in some ways. It may be we may have to do that, but one thing that would jump out at me, for example, is that just as I look at the budgets for the schools, the 5 schools, their expense budgets, their current expense budgets are the same amount of money that they were allocated almost 10 years ago. So, that's just kind of an example of what our level services have looked like at this point. That might be one of the more extreme examples. But that'll be, in order to construct a budget, you need to kind of develop some kind of philosophy.
Yes.
So that'll be the kind of discussion we'll have to
I
have.
think you do have to start with level services. I don't see us expanding in any way. I think we've probably got, 700,000 in there at least. It's not gonna
At
be
least
repeated.
700,000, and some of the money that the town's using is really kind of, some of it is like one-time, the town basically went around and found all these accounts, and so there's some one-time money there. I think you're looking at between $700 and $1 million next year that we start off in the hole.
Right.
Now, one of the things, that I think we have to take into consideration is enrollment, and how much is that going to drop next year, or is it gonna stay steady? I think we're down about 60 this year from 2 years ago, but will we continue to see a drop, or I think we've pretty much hit a number that we're gonna be at for the next 5 to 10 years in the 2,700 to 2,750 area, so I don't think we're getting any help there in enrollment, so, I mean, we need to use it as a baseline, but we almost know that we're gonna be 700,000 short
We know it will be
out of
less.
the box. So,
And have those extra hits in special education, which, there is an article on town meeting for, an account to be established that originally it was the thought that the ARRA money would need to be deposited in health so we could carry it forward. And we know we don't need it, but, it takes us back to our idea, in the past of having an account established where the town could fund in the event that we had special education emergencies, unforeseen student needs, that we could tap into that fund. So that article still stands on the warrant, and we might keep an eye towards curbing some of our special education accounts, not in our own budget, but through this new